Welcome to Bad Writing is Better Than No Writing. We are the Stellar Jays. I am Jocelyn.
And I am Julia.
And we are here to read our previous writing that we may consider by some standards bad today, but it was better that we wrote it than not writing anything at all.
And I think that we were in a mind state at some point in our lives where this was the greatest writing that ever graced paper or Word doc, as it may be.
Yeah, and that's actually like really valid. Like some of this is there's gonna be for sure like elements where we're just like laughing at what were we thinking, but we're also celebrating the fact that we actually had the guts to put something to paper, even if maybe it didn't turn out to be quite as amazing as we'd originally hoped.
Yeah, I think that there is a certain level of bravery in writing down those thoughts when we're young. It feels like a grown-up activity because, of course, all books we read were written by adults except for The Outsiders.
And Aragon.
And Aragon, which I didn't know about when I was young. So
you were spared one extra, like, pressure point
It
there.
is true. I had enough pressure from The Outsiders.
Yeah, that 14-year-old whiz kid.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
So we've been discussing something of Jocelyn's. This is a tale that she wrote when she was 14, 15.
Yeah, definitely on the younger end of 14 there. I think this was like
this is getting younger and younger, really. It was like closer to 13.
I think so. Like I think I had it rolling around in my head for a while before I started writing it based on just all the pictures I drew of these vultures and started giving them eye patches and names.
I think that those pictures need to be put up wherever they may be put up in the future. They will be available for viewing once we get around to it.
Oh yeah. I have my old sketchbooks that are just filled with my own art of all of my stories.
Oh my god. I think that I have basically like one fan art of myself, my character, somewhere, but I do not know where it is. So it might be lost to time.
I know. So many of these things, it's like you're digging through an old shoebox and then you're like, oh, this was my passion.
Exactly. And this story is one that is in vulture culture.
Yes. I was very clearly inspired by Guardians of Ghoul and possibly Silverwing and any of those other kind of animal ones to write a fantasy story about vultures and vulture kingdoms and like royalty fighting each other potentially, even though we didn't quite get there yet.
Not quite. And will we ever? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, so for those who are just who are both following along and who are just tuning in, we got up to chapter 5 in our last episodes of Bad Writing is Better Than No Writing. So we're on chapter 6 today of Feathers of Night. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The plot thus far is that Gareth Malgacross, yes, you heard that right, is the king's son. He's a prince, a vulture prince, who fled from home, overheard a plot to murder his father, and decided that he couldn't actually just tell his father. He better go off to the desert instead and tell the mysterious mercenaries who lived there about it.
I think that there is a certain level of responsibility that we would love to have taken as children. So instead of going to parents to tell them, we had this urge to go and fix the problem ourselves.
Yeah, the ability to go on an adventure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the actual helping bit is kind of secondary to the fact that, this gives us an excuse to go on an adventure.
Yeah, because like only good things happen on adventures.
Exactly. Usually the excuse to go is like the parents die or something.
Yeah, and
usually it.
In this case, he's just mad at his dad and he just flies out the window and leaves. So.
Wait until you see the reason for my adventure in the one that we're going to read together, like how I got rid of the parents.
I'm so excited.
I might be hyping it up a bit more than. Anyway, we're on vulture culture right now. We're Wings of, what is it? Sorry,
Feathers of Night.
Feathers of Night. I was gonna say Wings of Darkness, which is like
maybe
it is pretty.
That's the sequel.
Yes, indeed.
Because this was originally planned to be a trilogy when I first started
Well,
it.
aren't they all?
Yeah, that's just how books are written,
Exactly.
right?
Anyway, so we're with Sigareth, and then we have some other points of view.
Yeah. So we meet Flicka, who's a girl vulture, and that unfortunately was one of her only descriptions at the time. She has good hearing, though, so a few points for me at age 14. So she's in the desert with these mercenaries, and she's told to go off with Sigareth to a realm, another vulture realm. We didn't quite hear why. They didn't really explain like what they were going to do there, but we're assuming it's a way for them to get help.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though like the mercenaries should have been the ones to help.
Yeah, that really felt like what was going to happen, didn't it?
Well, that's what you expect. You know, you go to a place to hire people to help you, and they're like, well, why don't you just take one of us and go elsewhere to find help?
She'll help you. Yeah. Yeah. So Sigareth and Flicka are currently partnered up. And we discovered in the last chapter that black feathers were on their tail.
Black feathers being the bad guys. I don't know if we already said that.
Yeah, they're essentially like pirates, sort of.
Yeah.
But it also is implied that they kind of are their own vulture culture in and of themselves.
And they're Scottish.
Yeah, they all have the brogue accent with
They do.
the dropped G's with you have the apostrophe, so instead of talking, it's talking.
Yeah, and there's lots of eyes thrown around as well.
Yeah,
which I suppose is supposed to be pirate speak, but I'm just hearing Scottish.
Yeah, it's really funny that I gave these vultures pirate accents, and they don't even have ships.
No,
they're just,
there would be no real need for any kind of vulture ships.
Yeah.
I could believe that there are pirates in a way, but they would be a lot different. I'm trying to think of how that works, but we don't need to know how it works. But so all we need to know is that it's cool, and that's the thesis of these stories. Is it cool? Does it make them look cool? Yes, we're going to include it.
Yeah, that is literally always the reason.
And pirates are cool. They're a cool villain.
Yeah, they're easy to hate because pirates are bad. Although, ideas on that have shifted more recently.
Of course they have, but I guess
this came out before Pirates of the Caribbean.
And Our Flag Means Death has not been even conceived of yet.
Of course
so
not. Yeah.
Not back then.
So that's one POV is like Sigareth and Flicka, like those two are together now. And then we also have Malfino Thorvicus and Zarathos Flintigthar.
That's my favorite. It's my favorite character and my favorite name.
Yeah, it shortened, of course, to the easy to remember Malfin and Zero. Yeah. So those two how to describe those two? Malfin is like a runaway royal from the Thorvicus realm.
We kind of have that idea, although I must say, you as the author know that. When he said something about, I know about this kind of thing, I was like, oh, so he was a guard who dealt with a runaway royal. But the thing is his last name is named after the city, so I guess.
Yeah, he's
but
the
his
one...
father could have run away, or so we don't know the details yet, and will we ever? I don't know.
Stay tuned for sure. Yeah. We might cover that. We might even find out.
So he's connected to the royal family of a city that's nearby.
Yeah, it seems that his family and Sigareth's family are at odds, but we don't know any details about that yet.
No. And then we have Zarathos.
Yeah, so he seems to work as a healer sort of along, like he was based in this cave, this healing cave that seemed like a hospital, to all sorts of animals, not just vultures, which did raise more questions, but we did cover those questions pretty in depth.
Yeah, we did. Basically, the gist is all animals are sentient. Vultures heal these animals, and then the next day they will eat the same animals.
That's the implication.
That's what we get from the story. Does it make sense? It could. Does it also make things grim? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably... I don't think I was going for this level of edginess, but it's funny that it got to that point.
The level of compassion we are supposed to feel for these animals depend entirely on the vibe of the scene. So in one scene, we might think that a little bunny is, deserves to live as long as any vulture. It's another character. And in another scene, a rabbit is just food.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon.
Yeah, so perhaps there is like game animal and sentient animal of the same species. Who knows? But well, we just again, it's the cool factor. Was it cool in the scene to have them like kill a rabbit? Yes. So therefore,
yeah. So we have 2 pairs, and then we also have Synthethros Viroser, who is the healer vulture. I have thusly decreed that he has a beard because it makes it easier to remember that he's kind of a kooky older healer guy.
Yeah, and it really, really makes an impact when it comes to vultures because they are bald. So having the beard of feathers or even just a normal hair beard, I'm not sure how it looks.
Yeah, we don't need to know. Spiritually, he
has a beard. And that's all you need to know about him. He's the wise old healer vulture.
Yeah, so in the last chapter, no, actually this was 2 chapters ago, Synthethros was taken away under threat by a black feather vulture who threatened to hurt one of Synthethros' customers. Yeah. We did get a very brief POV actually last chapter of one of those customers, which was a tiny bunny named Bilthy.
Yes, cuteness embodied.
And Bilthy's whole point was exposition.
Yes, that was all she was there for, and I don't know if we'll see her again, but she did her job. Her and her mother, her wise mother.
Her mother who said, "Do you not know my child?" or something like that.
Yes, she went, yeah, exactly. So we had Bilthy's POV briefly, and we have not seen from Synthethros thus since.
Yes. So I think that kind of covers it. Oh, so yeah. So Sigareth and Flicka on their way to this place, but they're taken, black feathers catch up to them and might be killing them, Yeah. We have Malfin and Zarathos who are trying to track them. So they're on their way to try to actually help because word on the street is that Sigareth has gone missing.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, so we have, those are the 2 main things. And then of course Synthethros, which we've covered. So with that being said, I think we can start chapter 6.
The last chapter, we might add.
Yeah, unfortunately, I as I was emailing these to my homeschool supervisor teacher, I got to chapter 6 and just kind of fell off on that. But
now, is this the last one you can find, or is this literally the last you ever wrote?
This is the last thing I wrote for these characters. I know.
It's a shame. But it leaves us wanting more.
Yeah, and have no fear, dear listeners, because we are going to do a special episode where we actually give closure to these characters.
Exactly.
The closure they always deserved.
I think so. It's been a long 15, 16 years for them.
Yeah, that's... Hey, don't say that. Oh my goodness.
I was being generous. I think it's actually more like 17.
Oh, I'm so old.
Anyway, so we are going to read the final chapter written down of these wonderful characters.
Yeah, and it looks like our first POV is Synthethros.
Back with Synthethros and his dumb as a bag of rocks companion.
Yeah.
/ jailer, I guess.
Right. Yeah, Synthethros gives an obvious message to Bilthy, and then the black feather vulture's like, what? I don't care. Didn't notice.
What could that possibly mean?
Yeah. So, here we go. Chapter 6. Synthethros flew high above the farthest northern part of the Ashton Mountains.
Wait. Okay, sorry. Continue. I was trying to make sense of that in my head.
It's just, farthest northern part. Behind the black feather agent. Agent is an interesting word there. But
we're going into government territory now. Now it's no, pirates don't use that term.
It feels like more of a modern word.
Modern and government.
That's so funny. Okay. So this is the way to their hideout, he mused to himself. The vulture flying in front of him had tried to take many detours to confuse Synthethros, but a healer of the Ashton Mountains doesn't get lost easily, as Malfin had put it. I guess a long time ago somewhere else, because Malfin's not here.
Wait, is this something that we already heard Malfin say?
No.
Or was this okay?
No, this is backstory that is coming to us from a line of dialogue we never heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fine.
I guess it's just to show that they're good friends and they've talked before this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We're here. Syntethros's mouth dropped open, in spite of himself, at the sight of an enormous castle hewn from the very rock of the Ashton Mountains. Screeches could be heard echoing through the valley as they neared the forest. How in the world did they manage to build that? Synthethros
Wait,
thought.
now we're questioning it? When we weren't questioning the manor, the giant castle that already existed that had, Sigareth's family, or the mud towers?
Like in the mud towers, I was like, somehow the vultures had figured out how to use the mud to build towers. But here, wait a second.
Okay, continue.
Next line, we find out. The Blackfeather gave a half sadistically proud smile, as if he'd seen Syntethros's reaction, or no, Syntethros's kind before. Erosion, he said. They have a concept of castles, and they used erosion to make it, or did the erosion just make it look
Well, that's
like
what
a
it
castle?
sounds like. It sounds like he's like so proud, and then he's like, wasn't even our work.
Yeah, a river did it. Like, welcome.
I mean, judging by his like brains, I would assume that he was told that. He asked, they said erosion, and he's like, of course, that construction method.
Yeah,
and
a castle.
He doesn't even know that that's something that not vultures do, but the waters or whatever.
Like the word I use is hewn from the rock, which is done with tools.
Exactly.
Not just water and ice and glaciers.
I wonder if he's just wrong. Like he heard that word somewhere and he's like, that must be what it was.
Like later on, one of the other vultures is like, oh yeah, like old Kevin sure thought that, but actually we built it with stonemasonry tools.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, somebody just told it to him as a joke and he just took it for granted.
Yeah, now here's Syntethros's reaction. Erosion, thought Synthethros. These Blackfeathers are more resourceful than I thought. So he accepts that. No problem.
Thing is like, I'm trying to think of this as a method. Did they like have tubes that they like, directed at parts of the thing, and then when they needed it to be hewn down more, they would like direct more water that way?
Over hundreds of years.
The slowest method of building a castle ever conceived.
They're like, we need a couple of rooms in here. Like, let's make like 3 bedrooms here in the dining room. And so then they're like pressure blasting this rock.
Our great grandkids will love it.
Yeah, especially since birds live like, not that long. Sad to say.
Resourceful yet just not logical.
No. Oh boy. All right. Now, healer Sint, prepare to dive, which is interesting.
Okay, I thought you were going to say die. Like he brought him all the way there just to kill him. Just to show him, like, it's because he's so proud of it. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, the V is important there for sure. Folding his wings, Synthethros dived down after the Blackfeather. As he neared the ground, many vultures came into view, milling around. Once again, they're just
wandering around, as vultures do.
Mm-hmm. One looked up and shouted out something to the others. Soon the others were chanting, and their words reached clearly to Syntethros's ears. The healer has come. Oh, marmots, thought Synthethros. How did their numbers grow so large? End scene.
I can tell you how.
Perhaps, like marmots, they just multiply quickly.
I guess so. So he was being literal? Marmots.
He's like, I figured it out. Marmots.
Oh, man. I'm just like finding it funny that, he can't just fly away.
Yeah, because like when this became a problem, he did send out the victim, the potential victim. He's just like, okay, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then for some reason he's like, I guess I have to go, even though the threat is now gone.
And yeah, when they were halfway there, the threat was completely gone. So he could have just like turned around and gone for it. I mean,
yeah.
So if I were editing it, I would tell Jocelyn to create some other sense of urgency, some way where he cannot escape. He could be very old and this guy would be faster, would be able to outfly him and hurt him, right? That kind of thing.
It would actually make sense because, I mean, I added the beard like for our reading.
Yeah, but it's not inherent in the text.
And it should be. Like
it should be.
Exactly. It would explain a lot if the beard was inherent in the text.
It would be interesting to see some kind of vulture shackling. So like, he used vine or something to, I mean, these vultures would have chains. They would know how to smelt and all that noise. So like we would be able to see some kind of way where he shackled him to the guard and therefore.
Yeah, like there's so many creative things you could do with this idea. Just like, even if it was vines, like maybe they're just really heavy and so he's encumbered. Like you could do so much. You could even have like a really fascinating like structure that was built from erosion, just not one that you'd call a castle.
No, exactly. Like it could be like a bowl or something, like a big arena of some kind made of stone.
Yeah, I do dig this scene. Like I do dig the idea of like, oh, you're flying in and you see this, but then of course it's undercut by like erosion.
That's similar to diverse.
Yes, it was Zarathos is like a beautiful landscape, diverse indeed.
A beautiful castle, erosion.
Of course, these resourceful black feathers using erosion.
Oh man. All right, let's see. Was that the end of that scene?
Yeah, so that's our Synthethros scene.
Okay,
so we'll see if we check in with him again. So now we are with Zarathos' POV. Malfin is speaking here. He's been tracking the vulture and just tracks. Somehow he can do that.
Yes.
Even though he does have an eye patch and is missing an eye, it's fine.
It's fine.
So Malfin says, "We're getting closer. A swallow flew here not long ago. And there!" Zarathos jerked his head up in response to his friend's exclamation. He'd been trying to follow the signs Malfin was reading, but the tracks of a groundhog looked exactly like the flight pattern of a swallow to him. I just love that there's no explanation for how that works.
How does it look like anything?
Like you stare at the ground and you're like, the dust was disturbed by feathers
from like 30 meters up.
Especially because vultures are so high in the air whenever you see them.
Oh, I know. And reminder, he does only have one eye.
Yeah, he's just that good.
No explanation. Again, it's just cool.
It is extremely cool.
All right.
So Malfin says that, and Zarathos says, "Great sand fleas."
Where did you come up with these?
I don't know, man. Maybe Zarathos was just possessing me. It was one of those things where the character comes alive and...
I think so. Were you just looking up animals that would be in the same ecosystem as a vulture?
I don't know.
Because I've never even heard of sand fleas.
I don't know where I would have heard of that. I'm like... Oh, man. And to use it as an expletive is so good.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man. So he says this in response to seeing 10 vultures were descending on 2 young vultures who seemed like they'd lost the ability to fly. The king's son and a girl.
Oh, yes, the girl.
Once again, it's like he can just tell that it's a girl vulture from a distance.
Can you actually with vultures?
I don't remember. With this kind, you actually might, but it would be because she'd be physically bigger than him by quite a bit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, birds are funny that way. So
nice.
Oh man. "Hold it," roared Malfin, speeding above the throng. The black feathers looked up in surprise, and then each felt the blood drain from their faces. So actually there's
a POV jump there.
Yeah, now we're in all of the black feathers' heads.
A collective character.
All the pirates are like, the blood is draining from my face too.
It's 10. I guess it's against 4 now. So a 10 against 4 is a little bit more difficult. But they also lost their ability to fly, so I think the ones on the ground aren't very much of a threat.
No, probably not. Let's find out.
Yep.
Zarathos shook his head at his friend's recklessness and then soared in from the opposite direction. "Let these young ones go," he cried. The black feathers appeared slightly hesitant over the 2 new vultures joining the fray, and, if even possible, daring to tell them what to do. Finally, one largish brute found his voice. You and what army?
Ooh.
The oldest comeback ever.
I bet young Jocelyn was so psyched at pulling that one out.
Yeah, like, come on. Like,
I mean, back then it was probably a rather new phrase for kids. Like, that was so cool.
right. Yeah, there's a good chance that, like, I read it from something and thought it was, like, really cool.
I sure did. Oh,
Yeah.
man, where did I read it?
I don't even know where that came from.
It was a movie.
There's definitely that in Lord of the Rings, but I feel like it was before
I'm
that.
almost thinking it was like A Bug's Life or something.
That'd be good. That'd be good if, like, through osmosis, I gathered that and put it in this vulture story.
It was a Pixar movie that it was from. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so continuing. What? Never heard of the great Malfino Thorvicus? Zarathos mocked, noting that the band was mostly composed of newbie Blackfeathers, ones without much training. Yes, the one from the old tales. Lost his eye in the battle with the warlord, but did that slow him down? No, if anything, it made him fiercer than ever. Oh, brother Zarathos, Malfin thought, you don't have to go overboard.
I do like that he has his back like that.
Yeah,
he's just
like, "You're
hyping
so
up his
cool."
Yeah, he's hyping up his friend.
So, says Zarathos, I suggest you step back or suffer the consequences. End scene from this POV.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Oh, man. Yeah, I do think, again, we do see, like, the old tales mentioned.
Exactly, because we had reference to the what is it, the Friends of Old?
Yes, the Friends of Old.
Back then. So I'm wondering, how old is Malfin?
Yeah, like 10. Like, I don't know how old vultures live.
Also, you're saying it's old, but like he only just lost his eye like a year ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what the heck?
I mean, I guess to a vulture, if they live like 10 years, 1 year is more like 10 years.
Yeah,
but it's still, I still wouldn't say that's old.
Right, and like the tales.
The
like,
tales,
everyone
yeah.
knows about.
It's like a legend.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, okay, so now we're POV jumping to Sigareth.
Okay.
Yeah, so if Sigareth's eyes could have got any wider, they would have fallen out of his head. Who in the Malgicross realm were these two newcomers? Threatening 10 Blackfeathers? Were they insane? Malfino Thorvicus?
Are we finding out in like real time his like reactions? Like he's thinking this and then he hears that in the background and Malfino? Because he originally said, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Malfino?
Yeah, we're like, he's caught up now.
I know.
So, wait, what's happening here? Okay, so Gareth here is quoting. So this next part is Sigareth quoting something to himself, reciting like history.
Okay.
Malfino Thorvicus disappeared from the Thorvicus realm shortly after the Battle of the Ashton Peaks, presumed dead. His sister...
So he didn't disappear. He's dead.
just dead.
Yeah.
And he has a sister.
Oh.
His sister married a Ferdwing, but kept the name Thorvicus. When she died, then, the Ferdwing became the Thorvicus king, Sigareth recited quietly.
He's just reciting history under his breath as he's in huge danger.
Yeah, like from his textbook. Of
course.
He's like, right, now I understand what's going on.
Also, is that how succession works? I guess in the vulture culture, that's how it works.
Yeah, maybe it's because he was presumed dead that's why.
Well, his sister got the rule, which is fine. But then, like, the husband of zero lineage.
Oh, yeah. I guess she didn't have any baby vulture chicklets.
And that might actually be how it works. Like, that works for the male, but not the female. Like, a woman can't marry in and then become queen, but a man can marry in and become king.
Yeah, we don't know for sure which of the European like royalty lineages I was following at this point.
At any rate, it is a patriarchal system in vulture culture, which
apparently
doesn't make sense because females are bigger.
Yeah, it really doesn't. As much as I was like learning all about these vultures, there were certain things that I was like, I don't know, I guess it's just the patriarchy. Why
it transcends species.
Yeah, of course. Oh, so Sigareth recites history.
Right.
What are you talking about? Whispered Flicka, looking anxiously around at the too close for comfort black feathers.
He's doing it loud enough so she can hear.
She does have good hearing.
Of course.
Yeah, so maybe he was like,
well, yeah.
And she was like hearing everything perfectly. It's a little... That'd be upsetting, I think, to hang around Flicka for too long.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
No, not to mention her
And she, like, calls you out, like, well, you weren't even supposed to hear that, so leave me alone.
Yeah, like, just stop eavesdropping on my own conversation with myself, Flicka.
God.
Can't believe this. So, Sigareth's response is, the annals of the Thorvicus kings. Everyone has to learn them. Right, Flicka said. Those. She began edging away from the crowd of black feathers soaring above. Sorry, that's... like, how does that work?
I don't know if he can there, Flicka.
Like, at this point, I guess we have 10 pirate vultures flying in the air. Her, like, Flicka and Sigareth just on the ground, and then Malfino and Zarathos above the 10?
Yeah.
I guess. And so Flicka's like walking like away.
Are you imagining they're just hovering there like hummingbirds?
I don't
in
quite
a clump.
That vultures, I don't think a vulture could fly like that if it wanted to.
They can't, but I'm just imagining how this is going. They're just like swooping around, having midair conversation whenever they get close.
Yeah. I think they're trying to soar, just 10 of them in a big cluster. It must be kind of messy right now.
In which case, it would be very hard to edge away from it.
Yeah. So yeah, another little typo. I meant to say they all.
Okay.
So all these pirates, they were all too busy staring at that Zertos guy and his Malgin friend to notice her anyway.
She needs to learn her history.
She doesn't know about the friends of old.
Oh my god. Get up to date,
yeah,
Flicka.
I can't believe that
This is homeschooling gone wrong.
I know, yeah. And, like, I was very self-aware, maybe. I was like, like, as a homeschooler writing this, I'm like, education's actually really important.
Yeah.
Because you could end up like this.
You need to learn the basics as a mercenary, especially.
Yeah, it felt like she was trying to prove herself, but then here we have her just like, yeah, whatever, Malgin and Zerdos, like...
She's just, like, there as the foil of every, like, good aspect of anybody. Like, she's irritating and stupid and annoying.
I'm sorry, Flicka. So sorry. So yeah, So she's trying to edge away, and she says, "Psst, Sigareth," she whispered, "over here." That dratted king's son was too busy reciting his annals of the Thorvicus king to hear her. Flea-bitten marmots.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have edged away before you tried to talk to him.
Yeah, he doesn't have good hearing, remember?
Yeah, exactly. You should be used to this by now, Flicka.
She snarled to herself and then launched into the air.
So she can fly.
Yeah, yeah, maybe they were just scared before. But
all right,
now she's not.
All right, fine.
She launched into the air. 2 of the more watchful blackfeathers saw her move, broke away from the nervous group watching Zarathos, and barreled after her. As the 2 closed in, Flicka twisted midair and lashed out with her talons. Shrieking, one of the black feathers plummeted to the ground in a flurry of feathers.
Oh, okay, she knows how to fight.
Yeah, redemption for Flicka. Woo! Right about then, Sigareth came out of his bubble. Huh? He choked, looking up wildly. What? Where am I? What's going on? The fallen foe crashed to the ground beside him and added to his disorientation. Lurching forward, he tried to fly/run away.
What a dorky image.
He's like, ah! Have you ever seen a vulture run?
I'm imagining again the albatross from the rescuers trying to take off. That really awkward run, fly.
Exactly what I'm picturing here.
Yeah.
He's trying to run/fly away from the quiet bluff that was quickly becoming a loud affair. What does that mean?
I'm imagining that the rest of the vultures above are starting to make noise, but I still don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, me neither. Now there's only 9 of them.
Right.
Maybe this will become easier to understand.
Okay.
Flicka, he yelled. Shut up, a Blackfeather roared, speeding down to recapture his quarry with the rest of the gang. Zarathos and Malfin watched.
Oh, useless.
They're like, oh, now they called her bluff.
Oh, well.
Guess we'll just see what happens. Oh, okay. Soon, ... Wait for it, ... Closer, just a smidge, ... Sigareth, Flicka screamed. She zoomed back down, right into the throng of enemies. Oh, all caps lock. Marmots! Zarathos yelled. He and Malfin abandoned all plans of attack and dove down after her.
What?
So I'm trying to figure out what this actually looks like.
What is going on?
Like, I think that Flicka flew away. 2 followed her. She got one of them. He fell down next to Sigareth, who was just, like, in his own bubble.
Right.
And then Sigareth was like, oh, frick, like, I gotta get out of here. And all 9 of the remaining vultures were like, no, you're not. You're, like, the important one. So 9 vultures converged on Sigareth.
Okay.
And then I think that Malfin and Zarathos were like, we have a plan. We'll wait for the perfect moment. But I think that's what the wait for it was. But then Flicka's just like, no, like a normal person would.
Right.
And Malfin and Zarathos are like, shoot, like our perfect plan. I guess we just got to dive in there now.
Oh my God. I don't know what their plan could have been.
I know, like,
trying to think.
Like, they're watching 9 vultures, like, brutalize Sigareth, and they're like, any second now.
It's like they're waiting for him to get murdered.
Yeah, like, the terrible secret dark twist is that they're hoping that, like, he'll just die.
Yeah, they just came to watch.
Yeah.
This is gonna be good. Wait for it.
They're like, this is dinner tonight, right? Like... I wouldn't put it past these guys.
No, I wouldn't either.
The species seems to love just eating anything they talk to.
Exactly. You're sentient one scene, and then next scene you're lunch. So how's this any different?
Yeah, it's going great. I do think, I guess this is like my first action scene.
Yeah.
In the story. So like things are happening.
Things are happening.
I'm trying to balance like different actors.
I'm liking where it's going, and I'm liking the different energy that a flying battle has. Like birds fighting is a cool idea. Mm-hmm. I would like to be let in a little bit more on whatever plan this is. But have we reached the end of the scene?
Not quite.
Okay, well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, what the resolution is. Okay, so Zarathos curses, yelling, "Oh, marmots!" Mm-hmm. He and Malfin abandon all their plans of attack and dive down after Flicka. It was crowded and very hard to fly properly without letting your wings get torn off. Oh. Flicka glanced around quickly and mentally punched herself for forgetting her training so easily.
She can punch?
They know what punching is. How does she know what punching is?
Let's assume it's just like a foot thing, but
like,
then it's a kick.
Maybe like the part of her wing just like flaps in her face, and she's like,
Okay. Perhaps. Okay, continue.
She mentally punches herself. Well, might as well make the best of it until she was discovered.
What?
So I guess the 9 vultures haven't noticed her.
No. This is all happening within 1 second.
Yes. So, clawing around madly, Flicka tried to cut a path through to Sigareth, wherever he was. But the black feathers had training too, and experience.
That took training? Just clawing your way through a crowd?
Yeah. Where were those other 2 vultures anyway? 2 question marks. Very important to know. Okay, all caps lock, italics, and bold. Crack.
Ooh.
A big crack. 3 black feathers fell to the ground as Zarathos Flintigthar and Malfino Thorvicus raged into the brawl.
Ooh.
Another 2 were slain by their talons. Flicka, ever the opportunist. Is that a word?
Opportunist is.
Yeah, I put an extra itist in there. So she took advantage of the distraction and looked around for Sigareth. She finally noticed him being buffeted about and away from the fight by 2 of the remaining enemies. Oh, for goodness sakes, at least fight back, she cried in exasperation. And her voice actually reached Sigareth's ears.
Yeah, finally. He has like the worst hearing, apparently.
Quit it, he yelled.
That's the best battle tactic I've ever read.
He's like, stop, guys.
Come on.
Just quit it. Blindly striking out with his talons. Finally, he was beginning to realize what could potentially happen if he didn't act quickly.
I love all of those like ways of lessening the impact of that sentence.
Finally, and was beginning to realize and what could potentially happen, and then quickly.
We tried to make it a little bit better at the end there.
I'm like, how urgent can I make this? Like, finally, and yes. So here we are, getting to the end. Malfin and Zarathos, having finished off the enemies in their group, turned to engage the ones badgering Sigareth. But those 2 had abandoned all thought of victory shortly after they saw their companions fall. By the time Zarathos made it to Sigareth's side, they were just 2 tiny specks on the horizon.
So they were going for him, and then they looked back and saw their friends being killed, and they're like, whoop,
let's
never mind.
Get out of here.
A hard left and they're gone.
Yes, and that is the end of chapter 6.
And the end of whatever we have for Wings of Feathers of Night. Oh, may I see that last bit?
Absolutely. Here you go.
See. Thank you. So did they kill them?
Oh, yeah.
Malfin and Zarathos?
Yeah, they raged into the brawl and, like, literally the word slain by their talons.
With their talons, too, which, as we know, if we've been listening to this podcast, are quite weak.
Yeah, it's brought up several times, but I guess that those 2 are just so cool.
Yeah, they are so much more cool after this chapter. Like, I was seeing them on the same level as Flicka and Sigareth.
Yeah.
But they're totally not.
No, they're the friends of old, Julia.
How could I forget? I only just realized the meaning of that here.
Yeah, with friendship, you can do anything.
I guess so.
Including fight 10 evil vultures.
Exactly, who have had some training.
Yeah. Although to Malfin, he's like, oh, they don't have much training at all. Or maybe that was Zarathos. Either way, they know their enemies.
Yeah, they do. I love the quit it.
I know, poor Sigareth. He's like, I like how those 2, like, they're almost like the kids of the story.
Well, yeah, that's also something. Like, I didn't realize how much like more kid-like these characters were in comparison to Malfin and Zarathos. Like, they're adult. For some reason, I thought Zarathos was young as well. And like, this is written by a 13-year-old.
Yes, it is. I probably was like around 14, but young 14.
Yeah. So 14. So they're going to sound kid-like no matter what.
But I did make an effort to try to make Malfin and Zarathos older.
Yeah, and in this one, I'm really liking how cool they were.
Thank you, because that's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah,
like as we've established,
coolness.
The whole point of Feathers of Night was like just to have the coolest vulture story ever.
Right.
Yeah, so like a few thoughts. Like I hadn't actually read this since I wrote it, basically.
Oh, interesting.
So for me, all of this was basically just as new as it was for you and all of you dear listeners.
We're all going through this together.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as I expected.
No.
Like the parts that made me laugh the most were the world building parts,
right?
Where it's like I clearly know that it doesn't make any sense, and then I try to explain it,
and it makes less sense.
It doesn't make any more sense. Yeah.
But like I appreciated that there were some attempts made.
I certainly tried.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And there was enough world building of vulture culture to make me immersed in the world, and I could sometimes forget about some of the things that sure didn't make sense.
Yeah,
for vultures.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so in my character rankings, I would say that Malfin and Zarathos are probably tied for my faves.
Yeah.
Because I do like the potential Malfin had he's overcoming like a tragedy that happened to him.
Exactly.
And then, of course, Zarathos is just like a delight.
He is.
I do get the feeling Zarathos might be the type to secretly have an even more devastating backstory.
That would make him such a fan favorite.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Because he hides it under a glib attitude.
Oh, yeah. No, they would definitely be the bromance duo that everyone loves.
Yeah. I get the feeling because they look out for each other.
They do.
Seems. Yeah.
I'm sad that we don't get to see any more drama between them or any kind of angsty bits.
Their petty squabbles that mask the real trauma.
Exactly.
And then Sigareth and Flicka were clearly meant to grow the most.
Of course.
They had the most room because Flicka was irritating.
Yes.
And Sigareth was honestly pretty useless.
He was, but it fits in line with this whole pampered royal kid thing.
Yeah.
It was made interesting too that he is endowed with some genetic advantages when it came to his talons, because he had these giant talons that he did not know how to use at all.
Yeah, he allegedly would be safe with them, but then all he seemed to be able to do was catch rabbits.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't able to defend himself at all.
Yeah, in the moment he's reciting history to himself in the middle of a battle.
That was cute. I like this idea that he's this nerd.
Yeah. It might explain why he just couldn't even think to tell his father about what was going on. Was I better just go to the desert. Yeah.
So I wonder if in a new draft for little Jocelyn, would she keep the large talon aspect? Will it be useful later?
Right. That's such a good question. I don't really so a bit of backstory here.
Okay.
When I was writing these characters, Malfin and Zarathos were the real main characters.
Yeah.
Their story I understood way better before anything else.
Right.
So and it's interesting because sometimes I'll do this with other things where I'll know two characters' backstories really well.
Yeah. And
for some reason then also make some POV characters who almost should be the main characters but actually don't have as much going on that I've really thought about. So in the case of Malfin and Zarathos, we got a little bit of it in this last chapter where Sigareth is just reciting that, Malfin was fighting the warlord, or he died in this battle,
right.
And then, now it's a different person on the throne. So I had already in my own head decided okay, so this was how the war went, and that was almost the real story was Malfin and Zarathos fighting in this war, Malfin having this big climactic fight with the warlord,
right,
getting injured and one of his eyes being lost, and then I believe that Zarathos took his battered body to Sintothros for healing. And then Malfin essentially was cut himself off from the world because of the loss he suffered.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if then his depression is more due to losing the fight rather than losing his eye.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he at least talks to himself and says, "Boy, you should be over this eye by now, buddy." Looking in the mirror why aren't you better yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we get to the kind of reimagining process, I definitely think giving Sigareth and Flicka an end goal is vital.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We definitely do. Or else, yeah, we wouldn't need to have them as POV characters, because they're all protagonists now.
True.
Like,
yeah.
they kind of have to be with these POV changes. We spend equal amount of time with all of them. Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I do think that they have the potential to be like really interesting.
Yeah.
But at least in what I was writing here, I think that's part of why the story ended up just stopping here, is I just didn't quite know what to do next.
Right.
Like.
Yeah, because they won the battle.
They did, yeah. Something went right, and then I guess the next chapter probably would have just been them all reconvening and discussing what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
With some other, you had to think of some other kind of, what do you call it?
Like a conflict?
Yeah, another conflict that would make it so they can't tell the dad.
Yeah. Oh my word. I'm honestly imagining Malfin and Zarathos just being like, okay, we'll come back to the cave. And they go back to the cave and they're like, Synthethros is missing. Well, all four of us had better go there for some reason. Like,
yeah, they need to go find Synthethros.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That would actually make sense, right?
Yeah, just not the part about not telling the dad.
No.
That part still is bad.
Well, actually, okay. I'm having some thoughts here, but they'll have to wait for next episode.
Yeah.
So we'll have one more episode on
Feathers of Night.
Thank you. You're catching on that I'm not catching on still. We're still having that one episode where we will discuss the could have beens and the might be's of the story.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap things up in the way that it really should have been.
Yeah, exactly. And then next episode we will be starting an entirely new story. This one is much longer than the previous. We have much more material to deal with, and this will be written by me.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah, it is a I think it's about 44,000 words, which in comparison, this one was 6.
Yes, we have a good chunk of literature to get through.
We do, and so we haven't quite figured out what we will do for that. We might do it where we break it into acts, so we don't get fatigue from one story, and we can switch to another of Jocelyn's, and just to make things a little bit easier for listeners, perhaps, and to give one story a break.
We'll have to see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, this next story is a little bit less of a fantasy. It is definitely from the perspective of humans. Mm-hmm. It's not completely in the real world. It is, I guess you would call it dystopian fiction.
Okay, I was going to say, like, what would you say the genre is?
It would be dystopian. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I want it to be a surprise. I'm not even going to tell you the title because that's not even a title. It was just a placeholder for the document.
Okay, yeah.
Because I never gave my stories titles until the very end.
Oh, okay.
They would just have some kind of descriptor word.
And this one then didn't get to an end?
No, it didn't.
Oh.
Unfortunately, I never reached an end for this one, which is a shame because I was really into this story. But this I wrote. I was probably 16 going on 17 perhaps.
Okay, so high school.
Genre. It was high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the beginning of my writing journey, whereas like a lot of kids like you will have started earlier and gotten used to the story writing process. I only started writing when I was 16, so I still had to get a lot of the bad stuff out of my system, I assume. So all of this to say that I think that your writing was a lot more successful in some ways. Maybe. I don't know. But mine is, man, I don't know how to describe mine. We're just going to have to see.
Yeah. They're completely different genres. And also like we would have definitely had different goals in our storytelling at the time.
Absolutely.
So it will be very interesting. I'm very excited to like dive in with like the level of depth.
Exactly.
And just really like pick apart like what was the intent, what worked.
Exactly.
And also like how can it be improved?
Oh my goodness.
Because bad writing's better than no writing.
It is. It really is. I couldn't have been where I am today without writing that one first.